days in October. Adding a day every 4 years is what the famous Julian calendar does. Introduced in 46 BC by Julius Caesar, it was the de facto standardized Western calendar for a very long time, more than a millennium. But it's not perfect. Look closely. Leap days actually move the calendar just slightly too far each time, because I lied. 365¼ solar days don't occur within one solar year. The real number is slightly less and fluctuates year to year based on long-term changes to Earth and the Sun's movements, which means adding 1 day every 4 years is just a teensy-weensy too many. By 1582, Julian calendar dates were 10 days behind the seasons compared to where they used to be. Now that's not bad, 10 days in more than a millennium and a half, but the Catholic Church cared because they wanted Easter to occur exactly when it used to centuries ago. Astronomers at the time realized that if leap days pushed the calendar too far behind the seasons, we would just need to celebrate fewer of them to fix the problem. Specifically, we would need 3 fewer leap days every 4 centuries. The rule they wrote to achieve this stated that every 4 years would continue to be a leap year, except if it was divisible by 100, unless it was also evenly divisible by 400. This removes 3 every 400 years. On October 4th, Pope Gregory XIII introduced this new calendar. It took his name, the Gregorian calendar. He also undid the drift that had occurred since the early days of the Julian and declared on October 4th that tomorrow would be October 15th. October 5th to the 14th never happened in 1582 in countries that listened to the Pope. It took the rest of the world centuries to hop on board. England and its colonies, like the soon-to-be United States of America, adopted the Gregorian in September of 1752, by which point...
But perhaps the philosophers should listen to the mechanics more often, because Western astrology faces a fundamental problem. Ancient Greek astrologers devised their calendar over 2,000 years ago. At that time, they noted that on the 21st of March, the first day of spring, the sun was in perfect alignment with the star constellation Aries. They took this date as the starting point of their zodiac, but because of a slow swing in the Earth's axis, the system is no longer accurate.
This apple is going to be the planet Earth, so we are all there on this surface, and the Earth is spinning, and it has an axis around which it is spinning. This axis is represented by this piece of wire. Now the Earth goes around the sun, the sun is in the center, but the axis of the Earth is not always like this. The axis of the Earth is doing what we call precession, so it's wobbling very, very slowly. Actually, this movement takes 26,000 years to complete, and this is a problem.
The problem lies at the exact point the sun crosses the celestial equator. By taking the line of the equator on Earth and extending it, we form an imaginary plane into space. The sun crosses this celestial equator on the first day of spring. But the exact point at which the sun and this equator meet is slowly but steadily changing.
2,000 years ago, that point was here because the axis of the Earth was pointing in a different direction. So the meeting point between the equator and the path of the sun was here in Aries. And the equinox, the point where both planes meet, is changing this point a long time.
Because of this change, the precession, the meeting point between the sun and the celestial equator is slowly moving. Today, the sun crosses the equator on the spring equinox, not in the constellation Aries, but in Pisces, and in a few years it will move into Aquarius.
And then 24,000 years or whatever from now, it will be back to Aries. So then astrologers will be happy again.
If the sun is not in the constellation we think it is when we're born, We're all reading the wrong horoscope and living the wrong future. We should be reading the one from the month before we were born. So Aries becomes Pisces, Pisces becomes Aquarius, and so on. But astrologers see it differently.
They're missing the